What I do is I take 6, 7 people that I really respect, and what I do is listen to them and I talk to them because they're going to tell me the truth, and they know me and I know them, and I love them and I want to be part like them. I love and respect them, and that's what I do with books. I'll take a book and I'll highlight the parts from people that are unique, that have gone from somewhere to somewhere else and made a difference in people's lives. Because difference makers are who you need to listen to, because that's what coaches are. We're difference makers. And unless you can take negatives and turn them into positives in this business, you're not going to make it. You're going to be miserable because you're going to have negatives every day. You're dealing with too many people. And when people love their pets, they love their houses, they love their jobs, they love their children. And you're dealing with one of the 4 most important things in people's lives, and you're dealing with 120 of them when 11 can play. So there are going to be some mad parents and coaches and alums from those areas. You got to handle all that. And if you can't handle it, this isn't the right business for you. But if you do handle it, you can make a huge change in people's lives. And that's what I look for. Who has made change in people's lives and why? We're sitting around at COVID, and I was pouting. I just left a good TV gig. I'm sitting around here and we don't have games. We can't coach and they can't show up. I've never seen anything like this over what we thought was a virus. And I'm sitting there watching TV and they cancel this and they cancel that. And I'm saying, oh my God, we're supposed to have spring practice next week. I get back and the athletics director calls and says, well, you can have a meeting, but your team can't come back. And then he calls back and says, well, you can have a meeting, but you got to be 6 feet apart. And then he calls back and said, you got a meeting, but it can only be on Zoom. This is within an hour and a half. I didn't even know what Zoom was. I had to call my daughter, who's a professor at Charlottesville, and say, you know anything about Zoom? And she said, oh yeah, you need to learn Zoom fast. So I'm pouting one night and I said, Sally, what do we do, man? We come back here and we can't even see kids. We might not have games. And Sally always said, yeah, you'd have the best job in the world if it wasn't for those stupid games. She said, now we may not have games. I wish we had the games. And she said, maybe you came back for a purpose. Maybe your purpose was to help these kids during a really difficult time because you think you're having trouble. What about them? They're losing their chance to play. They're losing their chance to go to school. They got to stay at home. They're worried that they may die over some virus. So what if you were brought back to help your coaches learn how to handle adversity? To help your kids? Maybe you're supposed to help people in the state that are having trouble with all this stuff. Maybe you're supposed to do that instead of just griping about what you don't get to do. And she said, because you've got a bigger purpose right now than if we didn't have COVID. And the other thing she said, which really stood out to me, and this is something that all of our coaches should hear. When you have adversity, and we would say, or critical change that you're not used to, we get out of our little comfort zone. We as coaches like this little box. When you get out of your comfort zone, like we did with COVID, like we are with NIL, and like we are with transfer portal, because none of those things are what we grew up with, the ones that handle it the best are going to win the most games. And they're going to be the most successful. So instead of sitting around griping about all the bad things about it, why don't we figure out how to make it work? And that's what's intriguing to me. People say, why are you coaching at 72? And I'm really intrigued with how to make all this work when everybody thinks it's crazy and it shouldn't work. But that's what coaches do. We take negatives and turn them into positives.
Well, in conclusion, I think you didn't mention enough, you've got the best advisor and the best mentor in your wife, because undoubtedly that's unbelievable what you just said. But again, Family Leadership would like to thank you for giving your time, and I know your time is very limited, and just finding a little spot for coaches or any business person to watch this, and they can gain something from everything you said.